Hey, 6th grade, it's lesson 5.3. We're going to explore the idea of representing percents that are greater than 100 or less than 1. Let's jump into it. So can we really have percents that are more than 100%? Sometimes more than 100% doesn't make sense. For example, you can't spend more than 100% of your time playing basketball, no matter how much you love the sport. 100% is all the time you have, and there isn't any more. You can't spend more than 24 hours per day playing basketball because there isn't 25 hours. But sometimes more than 100% does make sense. Our last test was worth 10 points. Some people scored more than 10 points because they earned extra credit from our review game. A couple of students scored 10.5 points out of 10. This must be more than 100% because 10.5 is more than 10. So for their test, they didn't score 100%. They scored, cover that up, they scored 105% if they got every problem correct as well. Okay, so what would it look like to be more than 100%? Let's think about what 150% would look like. I see 150% is a 3-digit number, and I know I can make 150 by adding 100% plus 50%, because 100 plus 50 makes 150. So then I would have all 100 of these squares, go, close enough, plus 50 of the next one. So let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 10. 5 times 10 is 50. So this is what 150% looks like. Do you notice that it's more than just this one square on the left? It's that whole plus a little bit of the next one, which is why it's more than 100%. Let's jump into the fraction then. For our fraction, we know that when you have a percent, 100 goes on the bottom. So this is 150%. All right, then we're going to write an equivalent fraction. I can divide by 50. Divide by 50. And now I see that there are 2 50s in a 100, and there are 3 50s in 150. So this also looks like the fraction 3/2, which I could convert into 1 1/2. And that looks right to me. I have one whole on the left, and half of the next square, the left half, is colored purple. That's what color that is. All right, so for the decimal, 150%, I'm going to jump back to the fraction form. 150% is the same as saying 150 divided by 100, or 150 parts split into groups of 100. And now I'll bring out my calculator. 150 divided by 100 gets me 1 5/10 equals, color that differently, 1 5/10. Notice that the number in front of the decimal point is 1. That refers back to this first entire whole square that we colored in. We've colored in one whole square. That's that 1 in front, 1 5/10. Right, very quickly, another one. This is 225%. So 100 plus 100 plus 25 will get us to 225. I'll put in those percent symbols. Right, so here we go now. 100% means this whole. 100% means another whole. And 25%, that's 5 by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. This is 225%, much more than one whole. All right, to the fraction. 225 over 100. Simplify. The top one ends in 25, so we'll divide by 25. On the bottom, divide by 25. Right, equals 4. And then if you're not sure, 225 divided by 25 is 9. 9. That equals, let's see, 2. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 2 1/4. All right, and I think that makes sense too. We've colored in 2 whole big squares plus 1/4 of the next one. I'll prove it to you. Make my big plus. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So for the decimal, this time I'm going to use 9/4. This one right here in the middle, we'll use 9/4. 9/4 equals 9 split into 4, which equals 9 divided by 4, 2 and 25/100. This makes sense too. Our whole number in front, this big 2 here, refers back to the 2 big squares that we colored in. Right? This 25 refers back to how many we colored in there, because that's hundreds. All right, so we can clearly have percents that are more than 100%. What about percents that are less than 1%? Well, 1% is a very small amount. Here is 1% of this entire rectangle. There are 100 little squares. Out of the 100, I've just colored in 1, just that teeny tiny bit. 1% is a very small amount. So if we're talking about less than 1%, we're talking about an even smaller amount than that purple part. For example, this is 1/4%. It's an extra small amount. So I did a zoomed out version. This here is a zoomed out version of what is in that red circle. So you can see that I had, here we go on this page, that entire purple box is 1%. I split that purple box into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and colored in one of them. So I have an even smaller amount than what we had before. I have 1/4 of that percent. So what would that look like as a fraction? Well, this time it's a little more complicated. For the fraction, I know it's a percent, so that's 100, and I have 1/4 as a numerator. Oh, icky puka. So let's not make it be so icky. Let's think, well, what if I just times 4? If I have a fourth, here we go. I have a fourth 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't I have a whole? I think I do. So that's times 4, and on the bottom, the denominator, 100 times 4, gets us to 400. So this fraction is 1/400th. And I think that makes sense here too if we took every single one of these squares. Remember that there's 100 of them? Let me write this a little bit bigger. There's 100 squares, and if we broke each one into 4 parts, that would get us 400 squares. So that would mean that I would be taking this line and going across, up, 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 cross, up, 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 up. When I'm done, I would have 400 parts, and only one of them would be that purple part. I don't really want to do that, but that's what would happen. So for the decimal, I have 1/400. That's the same as 1 divided by 400. In my calculator, 1 divided by 400 is, 0 and 2 zeros, 25. 0 and 2 zeros, 25. It should be a really small decimal. You should have these zeros here. It looks like a smiley face. You should have these zeros right here because we have such a small amount of this square actually being colored in purple. I'll make these go away again so it's not quite so confusing. All right, so we can have percents that are more than 100%, and we can have percents that are less than 1%. On your assignment, I'm going to ask you to convert those percents into equivalent fractions and decimals.